Hi, my name's Ben, and today we're going to quickly run through a basic setup to get you submitting your STP figures to the ATO. So once you've downloaded that free version of Clock On, you'll have an icon on your desktop. It'll more than likely just say Clock On, not free version here. So if we double click on that icon, a little update may run just to make sure you're running the most recent version. And then you'll get the login screen. So the default logins for that is admin for the username and clock on for the password. And just press enter to enter into clock on. Now, if you want to change that password, up the top, we've got a change password icon here where we've got the old password. So just type clock in there and then also change it to your new password. All right, to get us up and running, first we need to set up your location or company details in the system. So what we're going to do is go to Setup and then Location. Now the free version's got a whole heap of dummy data to get you started in the system. So we do need to modify some of that. So let's just double click on the company name. And in here we need to set up your location name. So that might just be the same as company name. Whoop. And then, oh, can't spell, sorry about that, the company name. And then the company itself might be proprietary limited. And this is your trading name itself. We also need to put in an ABN, and that is so it needs to be a valid ABN, and that is what is being sent off to the ATO and how the it gets reported appropriately. We also need a nominated contact there as well. So put in your name in here, whatever that is. So not the words your name, but my name's Ben, so Ben Smith in that. And then we also need to have a phone number. And these are just some minimum requirements for the ATO for the STP. You also need to fill in your street address, suburb, state, and postcode on that one. Then under the payments section, you want to make sure the single touch payroll is enabled in the system there. We click save, you get a little pop-up to say that the ABN has been changed. That's okay because we've needed to add one in. So now we've got your new company name details and location details. We will close that. And then what we need to do after that is we need to set up some of the pay information that's going to be assigned to your employees. Now we'll get to employees in a second, but first what I'm going to do is set up the pay period that you need. So if we go into the rule sets, this is the real brains of the system, but we're going to keep this very basic. So what I'm going to use is the full-time hourly here, and I'm going to just make sure it is hourly here, or you could use any of the salary ones or whatever you would like. It doesn't really matter too much. So I've made a quick change so we can easily find the one that we want to do. But on this general tab, which is the first one it opens to, this is where we select the pay period. Now, just for ease of purpose, in this one, I'm going to choose monthly, but you can choose weekly or fortnightly. I click save on that, and so now we've got the pay period set up, and that's done via the rule set. We'll close that. And now the basic setup I'm going to be doing is so you can just type in a gross wage figure if you want, just a tax figure, and you can also make adjustments to the super if you need to. So that's done via our allowances and deduction manager. So I'm going to single click on that, double click on the default that's already in the system, and I'm just going to add a couple of allowances in here. So when I click add, we've got the name that's highlighted blue, and so I'm going to call this one gross wages. It's a normal allowance. Fixed, I'm leaving this as a $0. We'll come to this if you want to change that later. The per here, so it's a weekly payroll. By default, I chose monthly, so that's why I'm choosing the per in here. If your period is changing all the time, you may want to select pay period on that one. Here, we want to process it as a before tax allowance. So this is where it sits within payroll. Gross wages sitting before tax. I'm also reporting to the ATO as a gross wage on there. And then finally, in the options, I want to make sure the figure that we type in will be included in the super. So I'll turn that on. The next one I'm going to do is put in additional tax. And for here, again, normal allowance, I will change my period to be monthly as the same as I set up on that rule set. So come down, we've got additional tax. Now, if you're reducing tax, you use the allowance and rebate. So I'm doing additional tax. And finally, which some people have, so you may or may not need to do this, but I'll add one more in here and we'll call this super salary sacrifice. And so in this case, the type isn't a normal allowance. We want to select super salary sacrifice, and this will ensure that it's set up as a before tax deduction. And again, I'm going to choose that as a monthly on that one as well. Click on save. And so that has now added all of those templates into the system. They're ready to be applied to all your employees. So what I'm going to do is click on the apply button, and you'll notice we've still got the placeholder employees here at the moment, which is okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of those. Sometimes you've got to click it twice. And I'm going to apply all of those changes to everybody that's in the system at this point. I'll click on close and then close again. Then what we need to do is go to the employee detail information. So if we come into the employee details, it will jump to the administrator account. That is the one that we've logged in as. And we've got some placeholders which we need to make amendments to. So I'm going to employee 1. I'll click on the edit button up the top and we'll put in the name. And so we just need to update these figures that's in here. I'll do male in here, so 3. In here, street address you would update with the suburb, date. This email password, don't worry about that in the system. And this employee, the security login details, your employees are unlikely to ever be logging in, so we don't need to worry about those. At this point, they do need to be in the system. We come over to the Pay tab, and now we want to assign that rule set that we made the edit to. So this is why you want to make sure you know which one it is. So hourly full-time, and that will mean that this employee now is going to be a monthly payroll. Don't worry about rate sets. There's a lot of things in here which you're not going to need to do a basic STP submission. Tax category if you want. I'm selecting the tax-free threshold for this employee. It will automatically calculate the super in payroll. However, because we've also added that additional tax, you may want just to select no tax and constantly type in what that tax figure is yourself. Then we don't need to worry about an hourly rate because we are typing in a gross figure. The pay start date. Now we want to start that first payroll in the financial year. So if you want, we can come into here and we'll pick the 1st of July because that was the first payroll in this financial year. Sorry, wrong year. It should be 2019. They do need their tax file number in there. I'm just going to use a placeholder for now. And then the EFT information is, this is if you're using our banking file. So it's not needed specifically, but if you do want to report it on a pay slip, you can set that up here. Now the default allowance we've already set up, so we'll leave that as it is. So I'll click save on that. Sorry, I just need to put a valid postcode in there. As for the other employees, make those changes. With the free version, you only get up to 5 employees. In this case, I actually don't have any more employees, so I am going to delete each one of those. So just come into the employee drop-down, select the employee, press the delete button. Later, I can add or I can duplicate my employee and make the adjustments if I need to. Oops. And last one. So we've deleted that. Yep. So we've added all of the bare minimum employee information on that. And now it's time to process a payroll. So to do that, we'll go to the Payroll tab, click on the payroll icon. Alternatively, you can use the little icon up the top here for payroll also. We'll go into payroll. The first window here is the pay period that you're processing it in. Now you need to get caught up to date from the first of this financial year to where you're going to be submitting your STP, and then from that point on you need to regularly submit your STP. Now, if you didn't change on the employee detail, this date might be incorrect here, so you can just single click, use the edit period, and select that pay cycle for you. So you only need to do that first time, and then each time you process payroll, that will automatically roll into the next period. So we'll click next, and now we've entered into the payroll. I'm just going to expand it down a little bit so I've got some more information. The payment view type, this we find catches out people every now and again. Sometimes it gets set to low and you can't see anything or make any changes here. So you want to set it to medium, and once you get your screen looking how you like it, there is a little save desktop icon, which means next time you log in, it will look like this. So for this period, we've got the gross wages, so I can click on the dollar value here, and over this month, let's say I got paid $2,000. You can see here that 2,000's gone in. Because I have a tax category selected, it's automatically calculated the monthly tax for there, and it's also calculated the 9.5% that is on the super here. Now, salary sacrifice, it might be every week I want to take out $150, or sorry, every month $150. Now, in the allowances, which is what we set up and applied earlier, you could come into here, and if it's the same monthly wage again, let's say $2,500 for every other month, and the super is we want an extra $500 every month going into super. So by doing that, you'll see this one has updated to minusing the $500. This one didn't change in this payroll, but next payroll, it will automatically be that $2,500. And then finally, if you need to add more tax, we can come into here and add more tax into there. So it might be I want to add $50 this particular week. And if I do want to do another change to the employer contribution, and that might be slightly higher than the 9.5%, or you're catching up so you've got a slightly different calculation, you can also edit that figure there. So anything that's got these little pens, you can make adjustments down on the dollar values on the right hand side. Once this person's looking good, you can move to your other employees if you have them in there. Otherwise, we click next. This gives you an overview of everything that was processed in that particular pay period, which in this case is the 1st to the 31st of July. We then click process. We want to click yes on the prompt to see we're sure. And on this screen, we can print out pay slips, even a pay summary for that month for your own records if you'd like. Clicking on that summary, for instance, will bring up the summary of the wages for that month, giving you your total gross figures, your net wage figure. It's also got your total tax amount and super amount. Using the print icon in the top left-hand corner, we can print to our default printer, or if you want to save to PDF, tick the print to file, click on PDF, and choose where you want to save that particular location. And I'm just going to close that. And then ordinarily you would run this STP wizard. Now, because the current date, we are now in September, where it's not, October, and not July, we need to get caught up to date before we can start submitting. When you're submitting STP, it is a balance of their year-to-date figures at the time of that payroll. So once we get closer to this date, we will then be able to select and submit STP. So let's cancel that one and we'll click finish. And now it's time just to get up to date. So we'll go to payroll, click on payroll again. You'll notice that it's automatically updated to the next month. I'll click next. Because I went into those allowances and I made those adjustments before, we've got my normal monthly wage, my salary sacrifice, it's auto-calculated my tax here, and also my super on my wages. So then I can click next because I'm happy it's going to do that every month. If I do need to make an adjustment, I can just click on there and just make an adjustment. Type in the whole figure on that one. You don't need to worry about the dollar symbol. We click next, process. Yes, so it's just a matter of now running through to get all caught up to date. Again, I'll go to payroll. It's now September, so the month that's just gone. I'll click next. Again, we've got those figures again. Next again, process. That's that monthly payroll. And now I'm ready to submit my STP. So each month, remember, you can print out the pay slips for that month. You can print out a pay summary, but I want to run the STP wizard. And I now have a date of the period that I'm going to submit. Now this submission, this very first one, is going to have all of the other figures that I'm all now caught up to date. I'll click next. It'll do a quick validation that my ABN and tax file number is valid. I will now get a submission here prompt. When I click submit, I have one more option to click yes. Now, unfortunately, I don't want to submit falsely to the ATO, but when I click submit, click yes on that one, which I'm not going to, you'll get a list saying that it's transferring and authenticating. And once it's complete, there'll be a finish button down the bottom. So I'm not going to do that at the moment because I don't want to submit falsely to the ATO. And I'll click cancel. Once that's submitted, we can click finish and you're all now up to date with the ATO. So moving forward beyond that, you just need to submit every period once you've processed those payrolls. I hope that has been a help and will get you up and running as fast as possible with the ATO. And we've got some other videos as well, which if you've got more complex style payrolls, you can always watch those too. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.